guys really... I can't see. Hello, Iowa. You are good listeners out there. Everyone find their seats. We're going to get started. I want to start by thanking everyone for coming tonight. We're so excited for this event. This is the first debate Moms for Liberty has put on, so we're very excited. You can grade us after. I am Jen Turner, the Polk County Chapter Chair. We are 5 years old this year. We have representatives from 7 of our 8 counties. Sioux City, we gave them a pass, being 4 hours away, so they're watching online. Wanted to thank our sponsors, America for Prosperity, Faith and Freedom, and the Family Leader. Family Leader, you've been an incredible, incredible support for us over the last 5 years, and we cannot thank you enough. Before we get started, I wanted to say a few things. I wanted to talk about when the caucus season was here 2 years ago, and we had all of the candidates in town and their campaigns, and the number one thing that they talked about when they come to Iowa is how strong the grassroots is in Iowa, all of the organizations. And we do have a voice. The grassroots of Iowa is very important. 5 candidates were invited to this debate, 4 showed up. All 4 candidates that take the stage tonight deserve a spot on this stage. They deserve a chance on that ticket because they continue to show up for Iowans. It is not the big money, it is not the endorsements that matter, it's us, it's our boots on the ground that we're gonna have to get out and do the work if we want the candidates that put Iowans first to be our next governor. With that, I would like to introduce Pastor Jesse Newman from Eternity Church.
All right, my name is Jesse. I am not running for governor, but I am here to pray that the right man does win and that we would be led in godliness and righteousness. So if you're with me and you want to pray with me for that, bow your heads and let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege that it is to vote, Lord God, to get to vote for the men and women that represent us in this great nation. God, I pray tonight that you would help us see, God, who your man is to lead this state, Lord. And I pray that truth and righteousness and justice, godly, biblical justice, would reign in this state. Lord God, I pray that you would help our candidates to be kind, to be compassionate, but their kindness and compassion would always remain anchored in the truth of your word. God, I pray that you would help us all see tonight who is the man that will lead our state toward godliness, not away, not to shy back, not to sit down, not to be a wimp or a coward, but who is the man that will stand up and lead our state towards truth, justice, and righteousness. God, help us to see that clearly tonight, I pray. God, I pray you bless every single one of these men for taking the time to come and hang out with we the people so that we the people can see who we think the man might be. God, bless this night, I pray, in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. If you wouldn't mind, would you stand up now as Rachel Reed comes to lead us in the national anthem? Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. Good evening. Well, we're going to get started. So my name is Representative Samantha Fett. I'm Moms for Liberty in Warren County, and thank you. I have the pleasure of introducing the candidates to the stage for this 2026 primary gubernatorial governor's race here in the state of Iowa. How fantastic is that, huh? Backstage, we had a member from each of the campaigns draw randomly for the order that we will be going in this evening. So I'm going to bring those candidates out in that order. So first, let's welcome to the stage Representative Eddie Andrews. Next to the stage, we have Adam Steen. Next, we have Zach Lane. And our final candidate on the stage this evening is former Representative Brad Sherman. Thank you, gentlemen. I am standing at the 5th podium for a candidate that was unable to make it tonight. And now I'll be introducing our moderators. First, we have Tina Deskovich, who is the co-founder of Moms for Liberty. She came all the way here from Florida, and we are happy to have her. Tina. And our very own Simon Conway with News Radio 1040 WHO. This is going to be a fantastic evening. Thank you all for coming to this sold-out crowd. We're going to go ahead and let the moderators explain the rules and the procedures of how this evening will continue. Thank you so much.
Okay, our local Moms for Liberty moms put together a great event tonight with some very serious and strict rules that we are going to hold you gentlemen to. We are grateful for your time and that you are here, but the rules are as following. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes as an opening statement. The timer is right down here. You'll be notified at 30 seconds with yellow and red as you are to stop speaking. The order was predetermined. You guys drew backstage, or your staff did. There'll be no personal attacks. We want vision and priorities only. Questions in the beginning will go to all candidates. We'll start with candidate 1, and then the next question will start with candidate 2 and go in line from there. You get 60 seconds to respond to each question, and rebuttals are to 30 seconds only, and you only get 1 layer of rebuttal. And you only get to give a rebuttal if you are named directly, there's a factual claim that you would like to dispute, or there's a clear contrast to be raised. We will close we'll take an intermission after 45 minutes. We'll take a 15-minute intermission. We'll come back for another 45 minutes, and then we'll close with 2-minute closing statements from each of you. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Simon?
All right. We're going to start with Representative Eddie Andrews. There is no doubt for a period of years now that the #1 issue in the state of Iowa is property tax. There are 3 proposals on the agenda, one from the Senate, one from the House, and one from the governor. Where do you stand on those, or do you have one of your own?
Yes, I'm looking at...
Excuse me 1 second, they just...
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is our very first debate. Yeah, so we are going to ask for forgiveness right out the gate.
Now you know what's coming.
So I was going to make a joke about that 5th podium, but I feel like it's been beat up so much that if you guys didn't follow the rules, we're going to put you in timeout at the 5th podium. It sounds like maybe I have to start off right out at the 5th podium. And so we do want to start with opening statements. Representative Andrews, if you will kick us off there, 2 minutes.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you, yes, to your other question. But good evening, Iowa. My name is Eddie Andrews, candidate for the 44th governor of this great state of Iowa. You know, if you ask anybody, they will tell you, I don't even have to tell you, I love this state. And it's not just the beans and corn between 2 rivers, but this is our home where we built on faith, family, values, and fairness. But I'm running because it's about more than that. It's about people. It's about our future. It's about leadership, and it's about honor. Let's say honor. I am honored to be in this race because I am still serving as a state representative, a 3-term state representative, but I honor the commitment that I made to those who elected me. And so I'm fulfilling a sacrificial role to do 2 jobs at the same time because I value my commitment. And as governor, I will do the same to every single family. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a 3-term state representative, I'm a bilingual pastor, and of course, I am a proud Iowan. When I look at the vision that I have for Iowa, I envision an Iowa where education is back to #1 where it belongs, where property rights are free from ambiguity. I look at a state where mental health is taken care of and loved ones are not left behind. One thing I'd like to say, promises made, promises kept. I've served my 3 terms, and I have honored every promise that I've made. Thank you. My name is Eddie Andrews, and I look forward to hearing more questions.
Mr. Steen.
Good evening, Tina, Simon, Moms for Liberty. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Casey and the boys, for being here as well. Appreciate everybody who showed up for Team Steen. We are in what is perhaps the most important time in our state's history. We're at a tipping point. We're at an inflection point. We're at risk of losing our Iowa values and our Iowa culture right now. Take a look at Minnesota, Dearborn, Michigan, Illinois. Look at the travesty that was elected in Virginia of a supposed moderate governor and the policies they're putting in play. Look at who is running for governor on the other side of the ticket in Iowa. We cannot have that happen here. We're staring at a battle of good versus evil, and we have to call it what it is. If we do not come together as a state and rise up, stand firm, and hold our ground, The Democrats are going to come here and they're going to decimate the values that Iowans hold so dear. I entered this race to preserve and protect the culture of Iowa. I entered this race to preserve and protect the freedom that Iowa has. From professional baseball to a 23-year career as a business owner, an operator, and a problem solver, 5 of those years I spent running the operations of the state of Iowa. I resigned that job that I loved so I could protect a state that I love. I have the experience, the record, and the drive to run the state as your governor from day one. I'm excited, I'm honored to be here tonight. It's an informed electorate that we need in this moment to elect the person that can lead this state from day one, preserve and protect the freedoms that we have, and preserve and protect the culture that we have. So thank you, God bless.
Mr. Lane.
Hey, I just want to thank everybody for being here. It takes a lot to pull something like this off. So Moms for Liberty, AFP Iowa, the family leader, hats off to you guys. This is an amazing event. It's what de Tocqueville talked about when he talked about citizens in America gathering and coming together to solve the problems of their state. I'm running for governor for a lot of different reasons. We're going to hear from some great men here today. My goal is to share a different vision for the state of Iowa, for the future of Iowa. A vision you usually would not hear from a politician. And the reason is I'm not a politician. I'm a business owner. I built schools. I'm a husband and father, and I'm a farmer. And I'm running because I believe we need to preserve and protect the culture of the state of Iowa. My family has been here since the Civil War. Our family homesteaded on a farm near Belle Plaine, Iowa. And in that time, in 2005, that farm was sold. In 2014, I purchased that farm back and rebuilt it board by board. Why did I do that? I didn't do it so I could stand here and talk to you about it someday. I did it because I wanted my children to understand their heritage, their culture, and the story of what it means to be an Iowan. And so when I look out at the state today, I'm an entrepreneur. I've run businesses. I bought businesses. I work with young entrepreneurs to help them learn how to run businesses. I have scorecards for judging the health of a company, things I'm tracking every day. And when I look at Iowa, I see some wins that we've had on the fiscal side. But I also see some systemic issues that we must address. Number one, we are having our kids leave this state at a rate faster than 46 other states. You cannot build a state if you're losing your people. Number two, 10,000 family farms have been lost in 20 years. The suicide rate amongst our farmers went up 50% in that same time. Number three, our education is now bottom half. I've built schools. I understand how to do this. And number four, we have more cancer in the state of Iowa than anywhere ever in the history of human civilization, and no one is talking about it from the political side. I'm here to put Iowa and Iowans first and take on the tough issues.
Mr. Sherman.
Well, it's great to be here with you tonight. Thank you for coming. My name's Brad Sherman. I'm running to be the next governor of the great state of Iowa. You know, I've been a pastor for 45 years. I've done a lot of grassroots work. I've been a state legislature. I've done pro-life work, and I bring a broad range of experience to this governor's race. And so, you know, it's one of those things that I believe is essential for this role. You know, I endorsed President Trump in 2024 because I believe in making America great again, and I also believe in making Iowa better than it's ever been. I've been married to my wife, Carol, sitting here for 50 years, soon be 51 years in a couple of days. And, you know, we have 4 children, 13 grandchildren. And I have 2 sons, and they're both here tonight. They both serve in the Iowa National Guard. One is an Iraq War veteran. The other is a captain in the Air Force. Very proud of them. I have a daughter who lives in Iowa City, and she helps us every day in so many ways with the church and everything else. A very special daughter. And I have another daughter who is watching tonight from heaven. And she passed away suddenly and unexpectedly in 2023 in the middle of my term as a state legislator. And that's why I didn't run for State House again. But in that process, because we made plans to move and be close to our grandbabies. Now, my wife and I moved to Iowa City in 1981, and we started a church there, and we were reaching out to the University of Iowa students, and that's when we saw indoctrination taking place. We saw that the foundations of our freedom were being undermined, and I saw it as a big problem. That's what launched me into being involved politically. I've done a lot of volunteer work over the years, and so that's my slogan for our campaign, is restoring the foundations of freedom. And that's not just a slogan that we came up with, that's been our heartbeat for 4 decades. And that's what I'm going to bring to the governor's office, is that restoring those foundations of freedom. George Mason said, if free people don't examine their liberties and how they were obtained, they risk losing those rights, and we have to put that back in our educational system.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Gentlemen, the agreed to terms before the event was that written remarks only were allowed, no electronic devices on the podium. So this is a gentle reminder, so we don't have to put you in the timeout podium off to the left. Okay, we are going to get started with our questions now, and
All right.
I'm going to turn it over to Simon.
Take 2.
I have an idea of what this will be. Can you re-ask the question?
Right, so it's property taxes. There's 3 out there in the State House and from the governor. Do you support one of those, or do you have one of your own?
No and yes. And so, as Simon so correctly pointed out, there are 3 official versions, one from the Senate, one from the House, one from the governor's. Each has some good points and each has some strong points, or some not so strong points. But each reflect, the biggest problem is that they're still trotting around the edges. Now, I'm a go big or go home kind of guy. I think the whole system needs to blow up and start over. And that's why I have proposed and released on to the Iowa Taxpayers Association at their forum, one of my versions to eventually phase out, this is a 7-year phase out of property taxes and blowing the entire system up while maintaining first responders and while maintaining education. See me after class for more details.
Mr. Steen.
Yeah, very good. So we are taking a look at the House, the Senate, and the governor's bills right now. Overarchingly, my perspective on property taxes right now deal with the spending. Right now, I am advocating all across communities as we travel this state to look at their city councils, their county supervisors, and their school boards to look at the spend that they're creating through property taxes. Right now, we have an opportunity to do a zero-based budget practice across cities, counties, and school boards so that we get transparency and accountability on the spend. As a business owner, if I'm just going to go in and try to cut revenue in my business and I don't decrease the spend in my business, I've got a problem. So from a foundational standpoint, we need to look at the spend first, and we'll look at what proposals come through the legislature this year to see if we have to do anything to move the needle on property tax. But we have a spending problem in local governments. We have a spending problem in state government. We need to identify that, cut that out, and work on lowering taxes from there.
Mr. Lane.
Yeah, so I look at these things from a foundational principle standpoint. And when I look at this, here's what I see first. Number 1, if you really care about property taxes, you must vote in your local elections. The budgets come out of the local elected officials. This is where it comes from. That's number 1. Number 2, spending on the local level has gotten out of control. We must cap spending at the local level. I do support that proposal. I think Iowans for Tax Relief has a 2% cap. I think that's a good idea. But here's the deal. When we look at the foundational reason, and many of our rural communities are hurting the hardest when it comes to property taxes. Why is that? We're losing people. We continue to lose not just our young people are leaving the state, but our rural communities are being hollowed out. We're trying to provide the same amount of services with fewer people. We must grow in order to spread those services out and allow for Iowans to have relief in that regard, while we also cap the spending and fight on the local elections to elect freedom and liberty-minded people that will rein in spending.
Mr. Sherman.
Many good points here, but the thing that comes to my mind is if we had a real auditor with real transparency, then the people would take care of this problem themselves. They would be able to see what's happening. that gets to the root of the matter when it comes to the people getting out to vote. Even if they go out to vote, they don't know who to vote for because there's such a lack of transparency in our government. So that's what we really have to do. I also have a plan that to make primary residence, your primary residence property tax free once you hit the age of 65. I've heard other people talking about that. I've been talking about it for a long time. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that you have to work most of your life, pay off a mortgage, and you still have to rent your house from the government. Now, there are some rules that have to go with that to keep people from taking advantage of it. You know, you have to live in the Iowa for 10 years, and then maybe people will stay here instead of moving to Arizona. Maybe their kids will stay here. That will help our population growth. That'll spread out the taxes. So I think there's a lot of merit to this issue, and you know, we'll see how it works out.
Thank you, gentlemen. The next question, we'll start with Mr. Steen, and it has to do with student funding. Democrat leaders frequently argue that public schools are underfunded. Given that Iowa's general fund budget is $9.4 billion, with more than half of that allocated to education, it's $22,000 per student in the state of Iowa when you combine state, local, and federal dollars. What do you believe is the real solution to improving academic outcomes? Is it truly more funding, or is this issue rooted in spending habits?
Yeah. Part of my answer about property taxes deal with the spending issue that we have. We have a lot of money going into our public schools right now, and thank the Lord for the ESA program and school choice. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome bill that was passed. We have to create competition. We have to create competition and allow parents to choose where their kids are going, like school choice, like the ESA program, where they can take those dollars and put them into schools that are actually going to teach our kids the way they should be taught. So we do not have a funding problem within our public schools. And for the Democrats to come out and say, hey, anything about money, look at Minneapolis. Look at these states that are Democrat-run. Watch what's going to happen to Iowa if Rob Sand comes into this office. So we do not have a funding problem within our public schools. We have a problem with ideology and requirements being pushed down upon our kids in public schools that are not right, that are downright evil, and they need to be wiped away. So again, thank you for school choice, ESA program. It's not a spending problem.
Mr. Lane?
Yeah, thank you for this question. I spent the better part of a decade deeply involved in education. I've built schools. I traveled the country visiting schools for 2 years, visited over 70 of the most innovative schools in existence to start schools myself. We do not have a lack of spending issue. We have the issue of spending too much money and then decreasing quality in education. That's what's happening in our state. But here's the thing. I am all for ESAs. I am all for parents having more choice over where kids go to school and more choice over where their dollars are spent. The issue is, there's not a time in our state that less than 80% of our kids won't be in public schools. The governor has to be the #1 advocate for public school kids. We need to have innovation zones within education. We need to wipe out the Iowa Board of Educational Examiners and put in place people that will hold teachers accountable for when they indoctrinate our kids, suspend their licenses, or permanently take their licenses if we have to. But we have to get in there and say we're not giving up on public schools or public school kids, because that's where the battle's going to be fought.
Thank you. Mr. Sherman?
I believe in the money following the student. That tax money belongs to the parents. It doesn't belong to the state. That's the first principle we need to make sure we understand. So it needs to follow the students. Also, it goes back to the whole transparency issue. If the people could see where money was being spent, you know, they would do something about it. You know, in Iowa City, I looked at the website a few years ago, and they had 7 full-time DEI directors, and you know, that's probably a budget of $1 million right there. And so that's a huge problem. You know, we need to replace Common Core with common sense in our schools again and get back to the basics and put our money where it is. You know, there's an average of about the last numbers I saw was an average of about $22,000 per student per year being spent on education in Iowa. I think that's enough money. It's just, it's a matter of how it's being spent, you know. And so I totally support the ESA program. I think we need to expand it and in some fashion make it even available to homeschoolers if they want that. Some homeschoolers don't, but that's a good point.
Thank you. Representative Andrews.
Well, thank you. A lot of what has already been said, I agree with, and I've also worked on that in the trenches to actually get ESAs here. Also, the money follows the student, not the system. And it's a subtle change, but once people understand, no, that money doesn't belong to the public schools until the parent chooses to send them there. And once they understand that, they understand why the money needs to follow that student so that the parents have the best decision or make the best choice for that particular student. One other thing I would like to say is part of my Get Iowa Back to #1 plan is we do have to change the curriculum. We've already started in elementary school, but we realize we can't change the curriculum in elementary schools until we really effectively change those in our teaching colleges such as you and I. And we are doing this year in the Iowa legislature, and as governor, I will do even more to get Iowa education back to #1.
Thank you. Next question to you, Simon.
Mr. Lane, there's probably very few, if any, people in this room in which cancer has not touched their lives in some fashion. Iowa has a cancer problem. If we made you governor, how would you address it?
You know, I think this is one of the foundational and generational issues that we have to face. I said earlier, Iowa has more cancer than anywhere ever in the history of human civilization. If you live in one of the top 10 counties of cancer in Iowa, your lifetime rate of cancer is 1 in 2. If you live in Iowa versus Nevada, your likelihood of getting cancer is 40% more in Iowa just by making that choice. Look, I've been very clear about this. I'm touching on a subject that many people won't touch on. We have to confront the biggest issue. We are being lied to by big agriculture companies that are trying to cover themselves and protect their bottom lines. They know the harm of their products. The evidence is there. The research shows it. I have read studies. I've read probably 50 studies on this subject alone. We have to hold them accountable. If I'm governor, they will not be able to operate without giving us their research. We will perform independent research as well to make sure these products are safe. It is the generational issue of our time, and we have to confront it head on.
Mr. Sherman.
I agree with that point about independent research. I've been saying that all over the state. We have to have research that has no conflict of interest attached to it. That's an absolute must. And we have to have multiple studies. And I've been developing relationships with people who have the knowledge, chemistry knowledge, to be able to actually point out, you know, if that research is correct or not. So we have to have that kind of research. And so there's another, and one of the things that is a very simple thing that we can do right away is just make more awareness on the issue of radon. Now, radon is just one little sliver of the piece. It only causes lung cancer, but we need to make people way more aware of that because there's a lot of radon in Iowa soil, and so we need to have a lot more awareness when it comes to radon. But I think the research and again, everything is going to go back to transparency almost at some point. So we have to make sure that the people in our state understand. When we know the solution, it'll be easy to fix. Or when we know what the problem is, then the solution will be easy to arrive at.
Representative Andrews.
Yes, sir. So when we heard that devastating news about Iowa's high cancer rates, I was actually in session. And I was sitting next to a Democrat doctor, and I said, what is this about, and what's your first initial reaction? And we both agreed that we have ideas, but we really need to find out first. And so we worked with the governor's team and our leadership to make sure that there's a $1 million funding research at the University of Iowa to find out why. Now, we need to go further. One thing that does not do is address pediatric cancer rates. And so we have looked at addressing that by adding $3 million more to that to address the pediatric cancer rates. And so I can tell you that it's not to do what our other chamber is doing and protecting those that are causing cancer. That's the opposite direction that we need to do. Take care of violence.
Yes, Simon, my father passed away 3.5 years ago of kidney cancer. My mother just survived breast cancer. Both of those were not genetic. Those are near and dear to my heart. This is a very important issue for me, for my family. My in-laws are here. They started the Rally Against Cancer about 25 years ago that's raised millions of dollars for the Nurse Navigator program through Stoddard. My wife is here. She just left the Stoddard board to join the Unity Point board. I am surrounded by people on a regular basis that attack issues and attack challenges and attack problems. The cancer issue in the state of Iowa is going to be a years-long problem. It's going to take years. It's going to take the right people sitting down in the right room. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, purple, blue, doesn't matter to me. What we need are the right people to table so we can figure out what are causing the issues, number one, and how we're going to solve those issues. I do not lay this on the backs of farmers. Not at all. We do have radon. We've got issues with de-icer on airplanes. We've got issues with golf courses. We've got issues all around this state. We need to identify the problems, get the right people to the table, and solve them, but it's going to take years to do that.
All right, question number 3, we're going to start with you, Mr. Sherman. Moms for Liberty's mission is to defend parental rights at all levels of government. So this one is to that. Public education was historically centered on academic instruction and civic preparation. In recent years, schools have taken on broader roles related to social issues, identity, and student well-being. What do you believe is the proper purpose of public education? And how would you define the boundary between parental authority and the role of schools?
Well, God gave children to parents, not to the state. That's a bottom line that we need to remember. And so the parents should have complete control over the children's education. As far as the decisions that teachers make, you know, like medical decisions, things like that, those things should never be made without the parents' consent unless it's an absolute emergency of some kind. So we need to put this concept of God back in our schools. The 10 Commandments on our walls would be a good idea to start with. You know, one of the 10 Commandments is honor your father and mother. And if the schools honored the students honor father and mother, that would be a good start. So I totally support the idea of parental rights. We have to make that another foundational principle, an absolute foundational principle in our school system and restore that. This is something that started over 100 years ago to get children away from parents, and this was happening on purpose. And so we need to realize that this is a war that we're in.
Thank you, sir. Representative Andrew, the role of public education today, and where is that line between parental authority and what the schools are trying to do?
Well, thank you, Tina. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. I authored the landmark Parents' Rights Bill. And this is something that every person in the entire globe agreed and understood up until 3 seconds ago, right? That parents have the fundamental right, that's a key phrase, and responsibility to raise your child, to be responsible for their education, for their medical decisions, for their associations, and all things that we call parenting. And certainly in this area of education, it is even more critical. You know, I was looking at I was listening to a podcast called Sold a Story, and it showed exactly how the so-called education complex has really been taken over by the left. And it's only by parents standing up and realizing enough is enough that we began to expose all the things that were in our education system. Parents have the fundamental right to raise their children in education.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Steen, the role of public education, and where is that line?
Yeah. When my son Riker was 4 years old in preschool, we got an Amazon wish list sent to us over email, and we noticed that the teacher wanted us to purchase a book called Jacob's New Dress. And the book was about a boy wanting to be a girl, and at the end of it, he starts wearing dresses and he finally feels alive. That is the line. That is the line. And my wife was in that school so fast I couldn't even hold the door open for her. And we had a conversation with the teacher. And the teacher said, "Is this a religious thing?" And I said, "It can be a religious thing, but let's make it a developmental thing." That is the line. And our teachers oftentimes are being forced to put that information in front of our children, and they should not be forced to do that. What I believe public schools should be doing is teaching life skills to our kids. I'm an advocate for vocational studies, industrial arts, teaching real-world opportunities so kids can learn at a young age how to build things, how to create things, how to cook things. That's what we should be doing with kids. And I believe that this isn't on the backs of teachers. It's on the backs of those that are putting these standards upon our teachers and forcing it down our children's throats.
Mr. Lane?
Yeah. So I think what we have to frame this as is as a generational fight for the institutions in our society. The left, for a long time, publicly made it known that they were going after the institutions in society: education, business, government, all of these institutions. And they've been tremendously successful at permeating these organizations. And education is one that they have targeted so deeply because they know if they can get their hands on your children, on our children, that they can work to change their beliefs, to alter society in the future. It is one of the most sinister things you could imagine doing, because you're taking an innocent, vulnerable child that's there for curiosity, that's there to learn new things and make friends, and you're molding them for a specific purpose, an evil purpose, I'll say. Look, when we were starting schools, one of my foundational principles that I said is, we are going to strengthen the parent and child bond, not get in between it. Public school is to promote civic virtue, to understand the principles of faith in our country and our culture. And that's what it will be when I am governor.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Representative Andrews,
Yes, sir.
wearing the cloth of our nation, we always say that the people who sign on that dotted line are prepared to sacrifice everything up to and including their lives. Yes. For a lot of people, that was a vague concept. It's no longer vague in Iowa. We just lost 2. We had 2 more wounded. And when they get out, are we treating them right? Could we improve veterans' benefits if you were governor of Iowa?
Yes, sir. As you know, this is a very, very important part of my life. I got into politics. I had 0 interest in politics. You know, we lost my son who struggled with mental health challenges. Some people get involved in politics to be something. Some people get involved to do something. I've worked with all the veteran organizations. I think we're up to 22 that we know of officially veteran suicides a day. A day. We have to address that huge need of our servicemen and women who put their name on the dotted line and they come home and they can't fit in. We have to address that. I'm addressing that now as a legislator and as a community leader, but as governor, we need to put more resources, work with HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen units, all the things that address the PTSD and take care of our veterans who are taking care of us.
Thank you.
Adam.
Yeah. Fundamentally, the reason we exist as a free nation is because of our veterans. It's because those that serve, those that keep us protected. So thank you, those that have served. Thank you, those that continue to serve. I had a moment when I was working with the state where I got to oversee Veterans Affairs. It was before we created alignment and combined the Vets Home with Veterans Affairs. And I got to see, as a businessman, the mess it can be, the challenge it can be. I was also part of bringing in Commandant Jacobus, who's now overseeing those areas. Commandant Jacobus loves our veterans. Commandant Jacobus is fighting on a regular basis for all the resources, all the benefits, everything that he can do on a regular basis for our veterans. And as governor, I will keep Jacobus there, and I will do everything I can to provide for our veterans because of the service that they provided for us.
You know, first I just want to say, Adam, I agree with you on taking care of veterans. My mom is here, and she's a veteran, and so Mom, thank you for your service. Thank you for coming. I don't get to do that often, so I'm very thankful. But let me just say that, you know, we have had a tradition in our country of supporting veterans. And I believe that, I grew up in the early 2000s. We sent a lot of my own friends over to Iraq and Afghanistan. We spent $10 trillion. And I don't know that anyone in this room would say we have a lot to show for it. And then when our people come home, we were busy building a nation somewhere else, and we didn't build the infrastructure to take care of them here. That's a travesty. When my great-grandfather was farming on our farm that I live on now, he would teach groups of hundreds of World War II veterans how to farm. There was GI Bills for that. We were helping them buy farms. We created thousands of new farmers through these programs. We supported them. I would like to give tuition-free trade school to our veterans. I would like to find ways to get them back onto farms. And let me just say one thing, this is controversial.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Okay. I'll say the controversial thing later.
Mr. Sherman.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier in my opening comments that I have two sons serving in the military, and my one son here is a combat veteran, and he received a Bronze Star for dragging wounded soldiers off the street. And I know, that when he came home, it was difficult. He couldn't drive down the road without looking at the overpass. And so it was difficult. And the veterans services were very important to him and the counseling he got. And I don't think his situation was severe. It didn't seem that way to me. You might have to ask him, how severe it was. But I'll tell you, nobody is going to be stronger for veterans benefits than I am. I can just tell you that, because I love my sons and I love all the people that serve our country. And I'll just say this, that one thing that really needs to change is that our VA hospitals are pretty spread out. We need a medical care program where a veteran can go to any hospital, any doctor, anywhere, and have it paid for.
Next question you can guess from me is on education. This time we're going to go higher education. Many parents and educators have raised concerns that colleges of education increasingly emphasize progressive or ideological frameworks in teacher preparation programs, and that these approaches are showing up in classroom practices. Because these institutions largely control teacher licensure and accreditation, they shape the culture of K-12 education statewide. As governor, how will you ensure that teacher preparation programs prioritize strong academic instruction and professional neutrality while still addressing Iowa's teacher shortage? And would you support expanding alternative certification pathways to diversify the teacher pipeline?
I get a whole minute on that one?
Should take 30 seconds. That's it.
I'm going to reframe, Micah. I'm going to reframe, though. First and foremost, our universities should not be promoting DEI. They should not be promoting anything in that nature. Anybody who is arguing for that is insane, and they should not be even thinking about those types of things. So number one, we have a new chair of the Board of Regents who came right out on his first day, and he said there's no more woke that's going to be put through these universities, and that should be celebrated, 100%. From a school perspective, I believe we should provide an opportunity for universities to start teaching classical education so that fundamentally our K through 12 areas, we can offer up an option for parents even in the public schools. So right now we have a wonderful opportunity with school choice, but I think public schools should get an option too. I think teachers want to teach classical education, and I think the university should offer that track line as well so that we could bring people into this state to learn that, and we can put them in schools right here in the state of Iowa.
Thank you, sir.
So, I'm watching my minute here. I'm sorry.
You want your controversial thing first?
No. I'll do the controversial thing later. It's going to be really good. Okay. So, number one, I think we have to confront this. The value proposition of higher education is decreasing precipitously. In our schools, when we get to high school, we have an entire track of convincing kids that you don't need to go to college. Do you really need to go to college to do this? And unfortunately, our universities are digging their own grave. So look, this is about incentives to me. Our universities get a lot of money from us. How about this? The Board of Regents is overturned. We have good people like Adam's talking about on there. If they won't stop teaching what they're teaching, woke indoctrination, we're going to pull funding from them, and then we'll give it to the veterans to start their trade school, to start their farms, or something else like that. That's what we do. They will listen when we start to pull their funding. And it's that deep of an issue. But let me just say to any kids out there, think long and hard before you go to college. The value proposition is not there.
Mr. Sherman.
Well, I hardly know where to start on this one. It's a huge issue. Education has to be reformed. I've been building a team of people already who think differently than what we already have. I've heard people talk about the praxis test for teachers. Some people think it needs to be reinstated. Others think it was useless and wasn't the right kind of test. So, but what we do need is a test that can identify people who can do the job and not have to go through the same kind of programs that produce somebody who simply comes out of higher education, and then they go out and then their job is primarily to indoctrinate students with a leftist ideology or a woke ideology, and that kind of thing has to end. And so that's something that we really have to do. And I just have to say, Thomas Jefferson said, inform the people. Inform the whole mass of the people. They are the only sure reliance for the preservation of our liberties. And so we have to put the only safe place to secure our liberties is in the people, and we have to start looking to the people, and they have the answers to these things, and not always higher education.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a very long question. Here's a very short
Representative
question.
Andrews.
Oh, did we not get to any? I'm sorry, I'm messing up again.
Simon asked me a question twice, and now, okay, I'm just messing with you, sir. So first of all, as you know, education is I'm passionate about that. When I was a kid, when all of you guys were kids, I was not just near the top, we led the nation for decades. We willingly gave up the Iowa model, took on the national model of No Child Left Behind, Common Core, ESSA, all those crazy things, and now we're number 23, and no one's talking about that. It's an outrage. Number one thing we need to do is restore the Iowa model, restore phonics, eliminate and replace Common Core and ESSA and everything associated with it. In my district, there was no homework. And when I say that, I mean as a command, there shall be no homework. How are we going to learn? We need to restore the Iowa model. In my district, just to restore phonics took 12 teacher in-service days just to teach the teachers how to teach phonics. And so as governor, I will restore Iowa education back to number one as my number one priority.
Mr. Lane, long question, now short question. When does life begin?
Life begins at conception. And here's the thing. I have 60 seconds to talk about this, so I will talk about it for 60 seconds, even though it's a really simple question. This is a foundational issue for civilization. It is. And we can all say these things, but I'm going to tell you, for a long time, I believe politicians have been using this issue to keep us on their team because we'll say, I'll never vote for a pro-choice candidate. Meanwhile, they go off and do things like vote for the NED funding or vote for kill switches on cars. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of supporting these politicians that go off and trade our civil liberties. But here's the deal. Life is one of those things that you can't fudge on. I don't tell this story often, and I'll be very brief about it. But my wife and I went through a process, and we were at a fertility clinic. We are now banned for life from that clinic because we refused to discard the embryos. And the ones we refused turned into our youngest son, Fritz. And so that's how far you have to go with this.
Life is one of the fundamental issues that our government is supposed to protect. It's in the Declaration of Independence. One of the unalienable rights is life. And I believe life begins at conception. And I was happy to vote for the heartbeat bill, which prevented surgical abortions after 6 weeks. But folks, we need to do better. We need to do better. It was a step forward, but now we have abortion pills being mailed into our state, and it's dangerous, and we have no way of even tracking that. we need to do much, much better. But life is, so nobody's going to be stronger for life. I was a co-founder, board chair, and president of Informed Choices Medical Clinics for 10 years. I've been working in pro-life for a long time. It's a passion of mine. And so that's really, really important. So, but life goes all the way to the other end of the spectrum. It's not just the preborn. We need to take care of our elders. There's a lot of problems that I've been hearing about when it comes to elder care. And then there's life all the way in the middle, which gets to the issues of cancer and all the things we've been talking about.
Representative Andrews.
You know, this should be a real simple answer. I'm pro-life. I believe life begins at conception, and I will protect life from conception until natural death. Up until the day that I announced for my governor's race, I had been scheduled to be on Pulse Life board, or at least be considered for that. And the reason that I had been vetted for that, obviously I can't do that now because it looks like an endorsement if they do that, but the reason they had vetted me is because that is so critical to the foundation. Some people say, well, why is life, are you a one-issue voter? It's not that we're one-issue voters, it's that it's the first issue. If you can't get life right, then I can't trust anything else that you've got. Life, liberty, and as Joe Biden said, you know the thing. Is to be protected at all costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Andrews.
Mr. Steen.
Life begins at conception, first and foremost. That's the most important issue of this entire gubernatorial race. It's the most important issue. And it's because it's the most important issue. I want to know why Randy Feenstra is not on that stage over there answering that question. Why is Randy Feenstra not answering questions like we are answering? Because I tell you who will answer that question. It's Rob Sand. And Rob Sand will say the heartbeat bill went too far. The heartbeat bill did not go too far. We need to push that further. We need to put a conception bill in. We need to decimate the chemical abortions. You talk about water quality. What's happening in our water because of those chemical abortions that are coming through there? Randy Feenstra is the perceived front runner in this race. We do not have the ability as a populace to drag him across the finish line to beat Rob Sand. That's why this is so critical right now, and it's because of life.
And on that note, we're going to take a 15-minute intermission. Please get back quickly. And we will pick this back up at 8:15 exactly. We will get back to the debate in 5 minutes, so if everybody could start heading toward their seats, please. 5 minutes. We've got 1 minute till we start. If you guys could take your seats, we're starting in 1 minute. Oh my gosh. Does anybody know how to whistle around here? It's going great. Okay, we're ready to get started. We are ready to get started. If the candidates can get at the podium, if I could get everyone to be quiet, we'd like to get started. I wish I could do my mom's whistle, but I cannot. So I just need, thank you. Oh, a mom whistle. Good job. All right, we have 45 more minutes, and we are going to, I know, guys, buckle up, but you're doing a great job. We are grateful, and everyone here is grateful to you also. We're going to start this off a little different right now. We are going to ask a single question to an individual candidate just for you, so it's not going to go down the line this time. And the first question goes to Mr. Sherman. You've centered your campaign on being the most principled Christian conservative in the race. How can you assure Republican voters that this approach will not only secure the primary, but also win the general election in Iowa?
Well, the principle that I'm running on is first and foremost that I prayed about it. God confirmed it so many times that I've never been more confident about any direction we've ever heard from God. I've been making the joke lately that, on the campaign trail, that we have so many confirmations. We have more confirmations than a Lutheran middle school. That's the principle I'm running on, is that I know we are all in on this. God told us to do it. But I got in this race first. That's one of the biggest principles. And I got in it because of that, and I'm the only candidate that got in this race because before Governor Reynolds said she wasn't running. Now, I'm not here to trash Governor Reynolds. I'm just saying that's the principle I'm operating on. I didn't get in it because of it as an opportunity. I didn't get in it because maybe now I can move forward. I got in it based on that kind of principle. And so there's probably some more we could talk about, but the clock's running out.
Well, the second name on the list isn't here, so we'll skip him and we'll go to Mr. Steen. For the past 4 years, you've led Iowa's Department of Administrative Services, a role focused on operations rather than legislative advocacy. How can voters be confident in your ability to effectively collaborate with the state legislature to advance a political agenda?
I appreciate that. One of the key elements to my campaign is the fact that I have worked with the legislature for the last 5 years of my career. So part of my role within administrative services was to work with the legislature to create legislation that's going to impact Iowans in a very positive way. So one element of that is when the governor appointed me to the director of DAS, I had to be confirmed by the Senate. And my first appointment, because I was an outsider, because I was a business guy, it was hard for me to get confirmed. The Democrats rose up and they said, this guy, we don't know him, he's bought and paid for. Ultimately got confirmed. I operated for 4 years and then was reappointed by the governor, sent back for confirmation, and the Senate confirmed me 50-0, both Democrats and Republicans. That is the first time a director of DAS, my department, has been confirmed 50-0 with no questions asked. So I work with the legislature very, very well, and I will continue to work with them very well as governor of the state of Iowa.
Representative Andrews had a rebuttal to Mr. Sherman.
Yes, no offense, but I really, that's kind of an offensive comment that we have 3 pastors up here and we have another person, a person of faith, and to suggest that we've not prayed about this or that we have not received confirmation, I think quite honestly is insulting. I prayed long and hard, and I would not do this nor any other race without confirmation from the man upstairs.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. The next question is for you, Mr. Lane. You're the only candidate without any prior government experience, either elected or appointed. How can Iowa voters trust that your stated positions on key issues reflect genuine, deep-held convictions?
I think that, number one, they can trust it because I've never been a politician and I've never been in government. I think that's probably the biggest area. But two, I also think that this is about how you live your life. I talked about the issue with life before. I've talked about building schools. I've talked about building businesses. When it comes to property rights, I have fought myself eminent domain. Like when you live your life by these principles and you work to bring these things into the world, the fruits are seen. And so if you want to go to our rural community in Belle Plaine, Iowa, and look at the work we're doing there to restore the community, you can see how invested I am into this. If you want to go and look at our schools and see how deeply we care for the parent-child relationship, how deeply we care for bringing kids into the next generation with true skills, you can see that. And so if you want to go see how we live our life on our farm, how we operate that, you can see the fruits come out of the work that we're doing. And so I would ask everybody to just look at that.
Thank you.
Representative Andrews.
Yes, sir.
You need a couple of things to run for statewide office. One of them is a lot of money.
That's the rumor.
Are you confident that you would have significant resources to fight a gubernatorial race?
No, I love that question because all of the people are in the establishment. The day I announced, and every single race since, all of the people in the establishment said the same thing. Eddie, you don't have enough of X. Eddie, the other person has this. Or you don't have support from the establishment. I never have. I plead guilty to that. Never won it. But we won every single time. I've never entered a race in which I was the favorite by the establishment. If you look, yes, you can clap. I've been fought by leadership and won. See me after class for details. Because it's why I ran, and when people understand the authenticity and my capability, promises made, boatload of promises kept, they understand that I'm here as the real deal. By the way, all my endorsements are from Iowa, not from out of state.
Thank you, Representative Andrews. Okay, we're going to go back to everyone answering the same question, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Andrews, again, or Representative Andrews. And it's an education question because it's me again.
Shocker.
Teachers across Iowa are often asked to manage increasing behavioral challenges while complying with expanding administrative and reporting requirements. As governor, how would you support teachers in maintaining classroom authority and professional judgment while ensuring policies and administrative requirements do not undermine their ability to teach effectively?
Great question. So I started a couple of years ago. I realized that we hear a lot from school board members and school board candidates and from parents, but we rarely hear from teachers on these educational issues. And so I invited, 10, 15, 20 teachers to the Capitol to talk to legislators. And our mouths dropped for like 2 hours as we heard all the stories. Almost every single woman, except one, I think, mentioned violence. They had been kicked, something. And from that meeting, we started the Teacher Empowerment Bill with the help of Skylar Wheeler and others to set a minimum standard of requirement in each district because some districts didn't have any. They would actually clear the room of the good students in favor of the troublemaker. And so that's step one. We're going further this session, and as governor, we will make that a significant priority.
Thank you. Mr. Steen.
I've talked about school choice and how I'm a huge fan of school choice. I'm not anti-public school, however. Our boys go to public school. We love our public school. We love our teachers. What we hate are the requirements that are being forced down upon our teachers that don't allow our teachers to teach. That is a big problem. It also doesn't allow our teachers to discipline. And on this campaign trail, as I've been running around talking, one of the things I've been talking about is the criticality of bringing families back to the dinner table. We need parents to start being parents again. We need grandparents to start talking to their grandchildren. Thank you. We have an issue, and it's called the breakdown of the family. And kids' behavioral issues start with the family. Now, if we're hamstringing our public school educators from being able to discipline and teach the way these kids need to be disciplined and taught, that needs to change. Either you eliminate the requirements, but you certainly change the requirements to allow teachers, again, to teach and discipline the way they should.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Adam on the parts about parents. I think that I often tell people, look, if you want to change the world, be an involved parent. Focus on this. That's actually at the root of a lot of these issues. It can't be ignored. You know, in our schools that we started, we say our teachers, our guides we call them, are not disciplinarians. They are not the chief disciplinarians. Those are parents. When we put that back together, where parents are more involved with education, more involved with what's going on with their students, we help everyone involved. And so as we look at what to do in schools, look, when I talk to educators, here's what they say to me. 95% of my time is spent with 5% of the students. That doesn't work. But I'll also say this. It is not kind to leave those 5% of students in that same classroom. They're literally crying out for help. They're looking for something. It might be malnutrition, it might be trouble at home, it might be something that's going on with their parents. The teacher is the front line to see this. We need to have options to address that, to bring them out of the classroom and into an environment that will meet them where they're at and serve their needs.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Mr. Sherman.
You know, teachers get a bad rap many times because of the problems that we see in education, but we certainly have some teachers that have a good heart and are doing the best they can. But there is a problem of discipline in the schools. I've spoken with teachers who have been bitten, who have bruises, one teacher even had a concussion, and they're told just to let the children act out and do nothing. You know, that's something that we really have to fix. We have to provide separate facilities when children are not acting right. And then I think we need to involve the parents. And for the system of training that's out there that does not involve the parents, that's something that needs to be fixed as well. We need to institute some programs where the parents and the teachers have to come together and we get the right people. You know, these things always boil down pretty much to one thing, and that's getting good people involved. And so we really need to pray for another great awakening in this country, and it's going to take God to help us fix our nation. I think we all know that, but we have to do our part and pray along the way.
Thank you. Your turn, Simon.
Mr. Steen, Iowa family farms are disappearing. They're being bought up by big conglomerates. Many of them are out of state. Many of the people involved have never even set foot in Iowa. How do we stop the bleeding?
It's a great question. I'm a free market capitalist by and large. But I do see the issue. I see the problem. I see farms being decimated. I see families not able to row crop anymore, so they're having to innovate and create excavation businesses, dirt work businesses, which is great because that is who we are as Iowans. We innovate. When we see a challenge, we face it head on. We fix it. We get up early, we go to bed late, we get dirty when we fix things. And so at the end of the day, what I would like to see is an alternative that allows a family farmer to rather go to auction and give an outside entity a chance to buy the farm away, that we've got an option. And they can say, hey, we can transfer our legacy farm into the local community. I did that with the state. I was asked to sell thousands of acres of farmland within the state of Iowa. I created a program called Iowans by Iowa, and I took Century Farms, Heritage Farms, the Targeted Small Business Group, and the definition of a active farmer, put it into one program, was able to sell thousands of acres to local farmers right here in Iowa. It can be done, and it works.
Mr. Lane.
I think what we need to understand is that every time a farm is consolidated, life goes out of our communities. We lose life in our state. 90% of our land mass are farms. 25% are now owned by people who don't live here. And yes, I am very clear that I would like to find a way, a mechanism, to disincentivize that, just like Ron DeSantis is talking about doing in Florida, just like the governor of Montana is doing, where his state's being treated like a playground for the rich and the elite. We have a problem here because the land in our state belongs in the hands of the people in our state. And if I have to raise property taxes or create a new type of property to disincentivize this enough to give our kids a chance, I'm going to do it every day of the week. Because we will not restore the promise of Iowa. There's no way without our rural communities and our family farms. There's a giant vacuum sound going out of our state. We're being extracted from. And the 10th Amendment says we get to choose how we want to live as a state. And these are things that I'd like to do.
Mr. Sherman.
You know, Iowa is agriculture, and restoring the family farm has been something that's on my mind for this entire campaign. You know, we need to find a way to break up these big corporate entities. You know, Chapter 9 of the Iowa Code, 9H and 9I, that 9H deals with big corporate entities that own too much land. There's limits on that. I'm seeking to trying to find the time to do the research to see if that's been enforced properly. And then, of course, Chapter 9I deals with with international ownership, and that's another issue too. Sometimes we have farms being owned by international corporations that through shell companies. It's supposed to be against the law, but these are things that we really need to enforce. And so we need to enforce those laws. It's very important that we do that. Another thing that we can do is restore the soil. There's a phrase going through my mind: if we can heal the soil, we will heal Iowa. Farms can operate on much smaller acreages if they farm in the regenerative fashion and rebuild the soil.
Thank you. We have a rebuttal.
I just want to say to Brad about this, one, healing soil is exactly right. You brought up 9H and 9I. Robert Ray signed those laws into effect to protect family farms in the 1970s. There were anti-corporate farming laws, who owns land. We were sued on that in the early 2000s. And then Tom Miller entered a consent decree that said, we're not going to enforce these laws anymore against corporate farming as long as you donate this money to this organization. Those expired, and I recently learned that our Attorney General has re-upped those agreements. We have got to protect our family farms, and I'm so glad you brought those up.
Thank you, Mr. Lane.
Representative Andrews.
Sorry?
Yes, sir.
No, I missed what you said.
I'm sorry?
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry. We're losing family farms
Yes.
here in Iowa to big corporations. How do we stop that bleed?
Well, I like what was already said, and I will just, rather than reiterate a lot of that, I will just add a couple more things. So we got rid of the inheritance tax a little while ago. Thank you. Working with the governor and with the both chambers, yes, that's a big deal. Been trying to do that for decades, but one of the things that we left out is family transfers. And so we need to make sure that we completely get rid of that, and so that it's still not that same tax burden, that you don't have to wait for your parent to die before that's transferred, and then you're stuck with a huge burden, so that there should be some sort of continuity of transfer of care. I'm not sure I agree with the raising the taxes, but there are plenty of options that we can do, including making it easier to transfer to another family member.
Thank you.
The next question is an audience question that came in on break that we are taking. And this one it starts with Mr. Lane, and it's for all of you to answer. Would you consider banning the mRNA vaccine in Iowa? Any mRNA vaccine in Iowa?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I would, 100%. Let me just say, I've already signed. I was maybe the first signer of the pledge to pull the COVID shots off the market. We know they're unsafe. We know about the myocarditis. We know about pericarditis. We understand that we cannot trust the medical establishment anymore. They have lost our trust. And they have done nothing to earn it back. And so, as governor, we will make sure that we're protecting Iowa's people, that parents are in charge of if their child gets a vaccine, that there's not requirements on schools for vaccination. This is up to parents. It's for them to decide. The government will stay the hell out of their business. Sorry. Oops.
Will I ban mRNA vaccines? The answer is absolutely yes. When I ran for State House, that medical freedom was the issue. What happened during COVID was horrendous. Not only did it destroy and cripple our economy in Iowa, it was dangerous on levels that we have not even understood yet. You know, my own son-in-law was a physician, and he was told, if you don't take the shot, you're going to lose your job. And he had the backbone to stand up to the hospital where he worked, and he said, well, I'm not quitting, and I'm not taking the shot, and you're going to have to escort me out on the last day. And he took a stand. And so I think they probably looked at the books and saw how much money he brought into the hospital and decided to give him a religious exemption. But all we have to do is take a stand, and so we need medical freedom. We need to make sure we have it in this state. And, you know, more, I'm out of time.
Thank you. Representative Andrews?
Great comment so far. Let me just say that to answer the question directly, yes, I think 3 of us have signed that pledge. I remember in the early days of COVID, it didn't take long to realize they're just lying through their teeth. And I came in as a freshman that year in 2020, and we were told we were not going to limit gubernatorial powers, we weren't going to do this, that's just off the table, and I was just shocked. Because I discovered through just being a research nerd that they were just lying. I looked at the data, we looked at the excess myocarditis and so on and so forth. But what I have done, I see my time running out. Let me just say 2 things that I have done. I wrote the TELL Act, which would make it a requirement that they just don't just hand out the papers, but they tell all the side effects. And number 2, it's called the Stand By Your Vaccine Act. And so even though they have national liability freedom, in Iowa, they would be forced to acknowledge liability for any vaccine injury in Iowa.
Thank you, Representative. Mr. Steen.
I mentioned that my father passed away 3.5 years ago. He was healthy as a horse. He got the COVID shot, ends up with diabetes, ends up with cancer, and now he's passed away. I would absolutely consider a ban. Absolutely. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated by that. However, we do need absolute medical freedom. We need absolute transparency in the decisions that we're making from a healthcare perspective. But let me point something out. There's somebody who's not at that podium over there from a medical freedom perspective that wants us to go to the DOT and talk about mammograms and colonoscopies before we get our license renewed. That's not medical freedom. That is Congressman Feenstra, I don't even know what his name is, Congressman Feenstra, rolling in from D.C. with D.C. ideas. They're going to put us in the front lines of the lack of medical freedom. So that's what we need to defend against here all day long.
First. Okay, Mr. Sherman, you know, I wasn't actually going to go here, but I think I am now. What do you think about the fact that the congressman is not on this stage?
Well, our campaign team came up with a really nice idea here a while back, and we put a meme on social media, and it was a picture of Waldo with Randy's face on it. And so, you know, that's what we think of Randy not being here. You know, he was asked this question, you know, like Adam talked about his answer for cancer. You know, I just think, honestly, I think he's probably intimidated to be on this stage. And so, Randy Feenstra has a lot of money. He has a lot of people behind him. But in Iowa, it doesn't take that much money if you're willing to work hard. And so, and I was going to save this for my closing comments, but tomorrow night, we will hit all 99 counties, and we will have 263 meetings, and we will have driven 40,000 miles. Nobody's going to work harder in the grassroots than we are.
Representative Andrews, what do you think about the fact that there is nobody to your right?
Okay, you guys know me. I love people, and I try to help people. I usually don't talk behind their back unless I say it up front first, but quite honestly, Randy Feenstra was in town today. Can I say this as a minister? I'm not trying to cuss, but it's like throwing a middle finger at all of you. He didn't care. And so, you know, his goal, I can't go into his his psyche, but it sounds like he thinks he has enough money, enough name recognition. He doesn't need to campaign like Joe Biden did in 2020 or whatever that year was. I think every Iowan should look at that. If they can't be here now, they're not going to be there for you if you nominate them. My nickname is Everywhere Eddie because I am everywhere now. I started later than my colleague, but Chuck Grassley said, Eddie, you're doing this twice as fast as anybody else on the 99 County Tour. Why don't you just call it the Fast Eddie?
Yes. Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Representative.
Mr. Steve.
Simon, when the Ian Roberts scandal broke, I was on your show and we were appalled. And that turned into social media gold for our campaign. Tim Walz is social media gold for our campaign. The new Virginia governor is social media gold for our campaign. But there's a problem. That is happening in this country. And it's evil. And that evil is trying to creep into the state of Iowa and flip us from red to blue. So when you look at somebody like Randy Feenstra in his absence, in his inability and unwillingness to talk to the taxpayers, to talk to people that are making decisions, that puts our state at risk. We are at risk of a Randy Feenstra, Rob Sand candidacy, and I'm telling you right now, I tried to work with Rob Sand for 5 years. I tried to sit across from him for 5 years. He didn't show up for meetings, and what he says out on social media is not true. And if Feenstra is the candidate, Rob Sand's your next governor, and we are toast as a state.
Thank you.
Mr. Lane.
Yeah, I'm going to take this a bit of a different direction. I actually don't know or think that Randy Feenstra is actually afraid to be up here. I don't know that. What I will tell you is I've been paying attention to this for a very long time, and there's a tried and true way that consultants advise you to, and it's rinse and repeat across the country. It's that if you can get enough money with the establishment candidate, you can avoid doing all of these things. And here's why. You can go to all 99 counties in the state. There might be 100 activists in each of those counties. That's 10,000 people. 200,000 people are going to vote in the Republican primary. So who's talking to the other 190,000 people? It's the person that has the money. I put $2 million of my own money into this campaign. I've raised $400,000 this month. And I know that that's actually what they look at when they say, who is the threat here? Because they understand. The difference is, though, I'm one of you. I'm a conservative. I've protested Planned Parenthood. I've written for Glenn Beck's magazine. I've ran campaigns. I've been involved in this fight my entire adult life. I'm here to give us a shot.
Thank you.
Can we comment on that?
You have a rebuttal. Does it meet one of the 3 requirements?
I'm not sure. What are the 3 requirements?
Eddie, we assume it does.
Is there something factual that you would like to go back and say that was not factual? Did he call you out by name, which he did not do?
Did you call me by name to Zach?
Eddie
No, I'm just
Andrews?
kidding. He didn't. Zach and I are friends, so no.
I can't.
I don't think I qualify, but thank you.
Or if you, I think there was the third one was if you strongly disagree with something, like there's a clear disagreement there.
Okay, well, since you put me on the spot, I think the premise is what I disagree with, that money wins. Well, hey, she's already started, so I guess I'm in. Thought I was still going. As Representative already mentioned, Representative Sherman, look, guys, we just need enough money to June 2nd. Because after that, the money's there, right? So to me, it still is an insult that you don't get a chance to ask a question of the person who wants to lead this state.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, we don't do rebuttal to rebuttals.
Oh, just one.
Sorry,
shot.
sir.
One shot here.
We don't do rebuttals to rebuttals. It's only one
Sorry.
once around. I'm sorry.
We'll talk afterwards.
Mention my name.
You can't outsmart moms, just so you know.
Hey, let's
Just
make a
so
deal.
you
Let's
know.
mention each other's name.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, there's going to be 2 more questions, one from me, one from Simon, and then you'll get your 2-minute closing remarks. So if you've got any of those talking points floating around in your head that you wanted to get in tonight, these are now your opportunities. My final question for you is, at the end of your term as governor, what concrete achievements would you want social conservatives to highlight as your key deliverables beyond your mere promises? Oh, and I forgot, who do we start with, Simon? Who started last?
Brad started
Okay,
last.
well, I was getting ready.
No, you started last, so I think it's Representative
Okay.
Andrews. Do you need me
Yes.
to repeat the question?
What my key deliverables will be?
Yeah, beyond, your vocal promises, what are you going to deliver on at the end of your term if you're elected governor?
You know, promises made, promises kept has always been my motto since it was Donald Trump's motto. I did borrow that one. But I say that with all sincerity, that if you look at all of us, I think, I met a young man at the Trump rally today, and he says, you know, Eddie, what I like about you is you don't just say what your plans are, you say what you've already done. Promises made, promise, and a boatload of promises kept. So the first thing I would say is getting Iowa education back to #1. Thank you. Renovating our mental health care system so that our loved ones are not left behind, including our veterans. Yes, we know that some of that's federal, but we can do more here. #1, making sure that eminent domain is not used in 1 iota for private gain. That property rights don't property rights our grandmothers out of their homes.
Thank you, Representative. Your time is up. Mr. Steen.
There's a few things I'd love to see by the end of my time as governor here in the state. And the first one is I would love to see Iowa being the most pro-life state in the union. I'd love to see a life at conception bill passed. I'd love to see Iowa as the trades capital of the world. Skilled trades. I'd love to see Iowa being the healthcare capital of the world, where we're teaching kids in 7th and 8th grade how important it is to jump into the medical field. I don't think we've made it cool. I think we need to make it cool again, just like the trades. I'd like to see new industries formed in education, where classical education can be taught through our universities, colleges, and community colleges. I'd also like to see new industries created in the healthcare world. Things like restorative reproductive medicine instead of IVF as an alternative. We have the opportunity in Iowa to create those new industries and become the shining light on the hill.
Thank you, Mr. Steen. Mr. Lane.
You know, in our schools, we have the learners set goals, and they're SMART goals: specific, measurable, actionable, I can't remember what they are right now, and tough. And so when I think about these goals, when I think about the scorecard for Iowa, it's very easy for me to look at this. #1, I want to reverse the trend of our kids leaving the state. That's #1. #2, I want 10,000 new family farms versus 10,000 lost family farms. #3, I want our education system to be in the top 5 in the country by the end of my 2nd term. That's #3. And #4, I want to completely fall to the bottom of the ranks in cancer diagnosis in our state. These are 20 and 30-year goals. I'm running because I want my grandkids and great-grandkids to want to live in this state. And so this is what I'm looking at, not simple quick fixes. I'm looking to make systemic change in our state.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Mr. Sherman.
At the end of my term as governor, I would like to be able to say that we have eradicated human trafficking from our state. Absolutely eradicated. I would like to see a civic foundations being taught in our schools again that give a respect for our Constitution and the rule of law, and that people understand that people understand how our government's supposed to work, because if we don't know how our government is supposed to work, we won't know when it's not working. I would like to see our rural landscape transformed and see our population filling up our rural landscape again with the family farms, as Zach mentioned as well. And I would like to see a network of small modular reactors making electrical energy so cheap that we can attract businesses to this state, because we have such cheap energy. We have the technology nowadays to burn the spent fuel that's sitting stored for 200 years, and we can make electricity cheap again.
Well, I have at least half a dozen questions for each of you, so you're all going to have to come back on my show. But if I've only got one, right, Tina, one?
It's your last one.
One question,
Shoot your
then
best
I'm going to
shot.
make it the most important one of the night. The Cyhawk series. Who you rooting for, Mr. Steen?
I'm a Hawkeye fan. I can't help it. I can't help it.
Mr. Lane.
I got a minute for this?
Yeah, whole minute.
1 minute?
Whole minute.
Can you
Okay,
tell us what the
number
thing
one.
was?
I'm a
rebut
Cyclones
this?
fan.
Zach.
I'm a Cyclones fan, 100%. Here's what I'm going to say. Right now, in the state of Iowa, we don't have human-level disclosure of our land. We actually have no idea if China owns our land or who owns our land. As governor, I'm going to require human-level disclosure of the land. And here's the controversial thing I was going to say. If I find that any Chinese national is owning land in the state of Iowa, I am confiscating that land, and we're going to give it to veterans to start homesteads. And I got a little more time here, so I'm going to say, number one, to my kids at home, I'm sorry I said a bad word. We still can't say that, so please don't do that. And number two, Cyclones all the way.
Mr. Sherman.
Well, I've spent a lot of time on the University of Iowa campus talking to a lot of students. We've done ministry there for 45 years. But we also spent a lot of time at Iowa State University. For 3 or 4 years in a row, we drove there every week, ministering to students there. We had an outreach, we had a church there that we were actually helping with. And so I have both of these in my heart, but I've lived close to Iowa City for a long time, so I have to say that I'm a Hawkeye fan. And I especially get interested when they're winning.
Representative Andrews.
Look, by the way, I'm a preacher. This is just driving me crazy just with the stationary
He's
microphone.
using Randy's mic.
No, this is mine. They kept that one. So let me just say, as an engineer, that's my real job. You would have thought that I went to Iowa State, but I was a smart kid, and Iowa gave me a whole bunch of money and scholarship to run the Iowa Hawkeyes. So I did some grad work at Iowa State, though. So I am a Hawkeye, Cyclone, and a Panther. I love Iowa sports.
I have a rebuttal.
Hey.
I have a rebuttal.
And my daughter, who's sitting up there, I think you just got your second degree at Iowa State, both the left brain and the right brain, chemical engineering. And so in our house, we celebrate them all. We are for Iowa unless they're playing each other, then I'm a Hawkeye.
All right, it is time for the closing 2 minutes from each of you, and we're going to start at the opposite end just to throw you guys a wild curveball. With you, Mr. Sherman, your closing 2-minute remarks.
Okay, well, I've been going around the state and making 4 promises, and I want to close with the 4 promises I've been making all across the state. The first promise is based on something that Mike Huckabee said to me. I told him I was going to run for governor, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said the most dangerous person in the room, and Mike Huckabee knows a thing or two about governing. He said the most dangerous person in the room is the guy who doesn't know that he doesn't know. So my promise is this: if you make a mistake, you have to admit it. And there's no place, getting elected doesn't make you infallible. And there's no place where that applies more than the whole COVID issue. We made big mistakes in COVID. I'd like to hear our leaders say, hey, we messed up, but we're going to fix that. The second promise is that I know I can keep this promise, is I won't please everyone, and that's based on the fact, it's obvious, but that's based on the fact that I know what my core principles are, and they're not going to change, and so I'm prepared not to please people, and that's not going to shake me. My third promise is that I won't be bought. Government is not for sale. I know a lot of money changes hand. It sure seems to me like, just connecting the dots, that sometimes money causes people to change their definition of right and wrong, and I promise that's not going to happen to me. My fourth promise is I'm going to seek Almighty God with all my heart through prayer and wise counselors, because nobody has the corner on hearing from God. We just do the best we can. So we need wise counselors around us. The decisions that have to be made sometimes are clear, but many times they're not clear, and we need God's wisdom, and we need to pray. And so I want to see a lot of prayer going on, and I'm going to be committed to doing that. And so, I believe in working hard. And so I mentioned the number of counties we've been to. So when we ran for State House, we had a six-way primary. We won with 55.5%, and the next closest person had 13%. That's what we're going to do. We're working to do that right now. We're working hard. And when November rolls around, I look forward to beating Rob Sand, because Iowans know we can't build our house on the sand.
There we go.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Mr. Lane, your
We're going
closing.
backwards?
Yes, your closing
okay.
remarks.
Well, I got to think about this now.
No. Oh, gosh. Hold on, don't start the timer yet.
Don't
He
start
needs
the
to-
timer
He needs to
yet.
think.
No, I'm gonna close this a bit differently. Number one, I just say this was an amazing event. I think it was just. I hope you all agree. Hats off to you all. Thank you for putting it on. Number two, what I've done in business most successfully. I'm not an engineer. I'm not somebody who is the best at sales or something like that necessarily. I put together great teams. I love to put together great teams. And I would just say, I think this is a great team up here. And any person on the stage, I think, would be great to work with the governor or be governor. I truly believe that. But here's what I'll say. I was mentioning earlier about the issue of money in politics. $400,000 will get you about 4 days of statewide TV in Iowa. Randy Feenstra has about enough money for 7 weeks of it. That's why he's not here, because of that game plan that's been put in place for a very long time. I'm my own biggest donor. I will not be bought. I'm here because for the longest time I watched as the conservative candidates in primaries lost. And the establishment candidate won because they had the most money. That's not the only factor. I know that. But here's the deal. If you look across the country and you wonder why we have representatives that we have to defend on votes that they should just not be taking. I mentioned the National Endowment for the Arts. I mean, Elon Musk put everything on the line to root out this fraud. And we have representatives in Iowa now voting for it. It's wrong. I love the state of Iowa. I grew up with my dad as a conservationist, making me believe that every sunset was made by God for me. I want to see the long-term restoration of our state. It's why I'm putting the investment in now, because I want to give the real conservatives a chance at winning this and beating them at their own game. That's why I'm here. So I ask for your support, and I thank you all for coming out.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Mr. Steen, you are up.
Tina, Simon, thank you. Moms for Liberty, thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. You all have my commitment that I will protect our families. I'll also preserve the values that we hold so dear in this state. You have my commitment that I will fight for your families as hard as I fight for my own family. Make no mistake, this election will be a battle the likes of which we've never seen before. Take your time. Analyze the candidates. Choose the candidate that can best operate the state. Choose the candidate that can best reflect the culture of our state and has a vision for our state, has the ability to lead our state on day one. Choose the candidate that will best create policy that reflects the values of our state. I'm asking to be that candidate. I'm asking for your support tonight. I've won battles, I've lost battles. I've been knocked down, but I will never stay down. I've developed a backbone of steel. I've developed the scars necessary to fight the fight that's ahead. I'm fearless, and I will never back down. In a Steen administration, Iowa will be a shining light on a hill. Iowa will be a beacon of hope for families to thrive. In a Steen administration, Iowa will continue to be a safe haven for children and families, and Iowa will continue to be a place that we can be proud to call home. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Iowa.
Thank you, and by the way, I'm glad and honored to be contestant number 1. Just saying, there may be something there. I just want to say 3 things before I get to the root of my closing comment. I have to say, I have pushed back against excessive funds in our elections because money corrupts. I've actually led on that. I actually still have a bill. I've been working on that for 2 years. It's called Iowans Elect Iowans. We'll keep working on that in the State House and eventually in the governor's mansion. 2 things. I didn't really get a chance to talk about my RED plan, rural economic development, because we have economic development, but it just never seems to leave Des Moines, right? And so we've been working on that plan. The other thing that we've not really talked about, we've talked about leadership, we talked about farms, but we've never talked about electability. There's only one of us up here who's won in a tough district. We saw the Trump team today. Again, one of the people asked, how do you, I can't really say how they said it. I'll just say, how do you win in a tough district and still bring conservative values? I've added more Republicans, by my count, maybe you're wrong, or maybe I'm wrong. I've added more Republicans to my district than any other district in Iowa. Why? Because I lead and I persuade and bring them along. And that's exactly where this fight is coming from. This is not a traditional Republican versus Democrat fight like the senatorial race will be, or like the congressional districts will be. This will be the hearts of, yes, Republicans, Democrats, but we have to attract those who are on that fence and in that area where most of our voters are this year. And I am the best qualified person to do that. I've won in tough districts, and I will win again. Thank you so much. God bless you. I appreciate your time.
Okay, I want to welcome back to the stage Jennifer Turner. She's the chapter chair, Moms for Liberty, Polk County, Iowa. I don't know where she's going to get a microphone from.
The Randy mic.
It's gone.
This is very impromptu. I wanted to thank, you see the Moms for Liberty on the sides here. Thank you. We watched this debate in the overflow room, and we all came to the consensus we want to bottle you all up into one candidate. We are joyful warriors. We lead with grace and truth, and all of you do that, and we appreciate you so much working for the people of Iowa, and we cannot thank you enough for being here. So with that, we're just so excited. You are so amazing, all of you. Thank you.